Welcome back, Urban Nights. Welcome back. It is a Thursday, and we are coming live to you all the way from Hotel Sky in Sandton. And Raperdi Soute here today. Today, see proudly SA. Now, let me welcome my guest, Salvona Mr. Mashimbye.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Business Booster Extra.
Thank you, thank you.
And you look stunning. I love your team. I love the professionality. You guys are like on par, hey?
Yeah, we're proudly South African.
You are proudly South African.
You know, if you look at the proudly South African logo, it has the tick.
Oh.
The tick tells you that we're on point every single time.
So everything is a tick list.
Sure.
I love that. Now, I'm excited to have you on my show today. So much so that me and my team, we took a walk and we had a chat with a couple of South Africans, but that's going to be later on.
Okay.
You've got me for an hour, Anker. So I have you for an hour. Now, let's chat about the summit. You guys just came back from a summit?
Yeah, the 13th edition of the Proudly South African Buy Local Summit and Expo. It's our flagship event. It's where we are able to bring under one roof over a 2-day period the best of what the Proudly South African campaign has to offer by way of its members, representing at a minimum 26 different industries and sectors, for them to showcase the best of what they are offering, whether they have consumer-facing products or business-to-business targeted products. It's a platform where they're able to showcase that. But alongside that exhibition, you have a conference, a summit, where we are able to engage with those who, at a policy level, are able to influence the direction that the country takes insofar as support for locally made products is concerned, so that we maximize on the potential that exists from an industrialization perspective, because we have to create jobs, and so we have to have an engagement like that, so that at the end of that conference, we have addressed as many of those challenges that were discussed and that we had identified as possible sore points that needed to be addressed and taken care of, ahead of the summit. And we had a lot that we discussed, and I don't know if you want me to go into it, but as an example, the issues around counterfeit products, issues around products that are dumped in South Africa, coming in because they are under-invoiced. I mean, the most horrific stories from the ceramics industry that I've heard recently, where, in other countries they sell, ceramic tiles at about $4 or $7, but when they send it to South Africa, they send it for $4, and so a square meter. And so that just tells you that it's under-invoiced. That can be the right price. If you're able to sell it for $7 in another country, how are you able to But that is done to undercut South Africans, because they know that when you bring it in at a price like that, the South African producers, in order to even break even, never mind make profit, will have to charge what it is that they're incurring, and that is way more than $4. And so that is the biggest challenge that we are sitting with. And so we dealt with some of those issues. We had the commissioner of SARS in the room, as an example, dealing with those kind of issues, because from a customs perspective, they take care of the ports of entry from a goods perspective. We had the commissioner at ITEC, because they are the ones who are supposed to then identify some of those industries where we have dumping and we have counterfeit products coming into the country, and they are meant to then impose tariffs and impose additional levies that can be levied on those products that come into the country. But we dealt with an array of issues that we think, once addressed, they will help us reindustrialize the economy, so that those infant industries and those existing industries that have the potential to employ the bulk of our people can do so.
You guys are actually doing so much. I personally didn't even know that those are some of the issues that you guys tackle. Well, keep on being proudly South African. And what is the impact of the summit?
Look, because the impact also has a strong access to market objective attached to it. I mean, those 200 plus exhibitors who showcase their products there are assisted with getting to those buyers and supply chain practitioners and purchasing decision makers that they would normally struggle to get to. We are proud of the fact that when we do our debrief and we look at post-event reports, a lot of them have been able to get to those that we have been able to match them. I mean, we have a business matchmaking program where we intentionally, link up our guys with those that they say are the kind of customers that would help their businesses, never mind just get sustained, but grow. And so we are very excited because a lot of them have said they've had the meetings that we've arranged for them, pre-arranged meetings. And some of them even had meetings that we had not pre-arranged, just as a result of our efforts, pre-event, PR and media efforts to drive people into the event. You end up driving people that have the power. Nice. To start making purchasing decisions in favor of locally made products. And I think that for me is outside of the discussions in the conference itself, from an exhibition perspective, we have been able to ensure that businesses that would have closed or that would have had to lay off people or would have had to put people on short time did not do so. And they would have done so because of lack of orders. I mean, we met with a company a week ago, just before the Easter weekend, and they were telling us about the purchase orders that they were able to land at the Buy Local Summit, which has helped them retain the jobs that they were worried about losing because they did not have enough purchase orders coming through. So our hope is that this will carry them, this will sustain them, but more than anything, that those are companies that they can hold on to and will continue buying from them so that they don't end up in the same position they were before the Buy Local Summit and Expo. And so that's the beauty of having a platform like this.
No, I love it so much. And when we come back, we're going to have to take a short break, Shem, and drink some water. I can feel our voices are getting very huskier. So we'll take a short break, and when we get back, we will be touching down on entrepreneurship and local business growth. So stick around, Urban Nights. We are still here on Business Boost Extra with myself, Lerato Qwabe, and we have the CEO of Proudly SA, Mr. Mashimbye. Got that right, yo. Welcome back to Urban Nights. You are still listening to Business Boost Extra, right here on Urban Urge, not just radio. Mr. Mashimbye, I'd like to talk about entrepreneurship. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurs, and that's what is the purpose of Business Boost Extra. It's to give as much information as possible to entrepreneurs, and also getting the business conversation, business language and articulation understood to entrepreneurs. So I'd like to know, how does Proudly South African support small and medium-sized enterprises in competing against international brands?
So what we do is we try and make sure that through all our efforts, where you can position locally made products, you do so. I mean, the best example is where we have found a way to get to retailers and ensure that they start increasing levels of local content on retail shelves. Because think about it, as a consumer, if every time you walk into a retail store, all you find are imported products, it means that's all you're taking home. But if you increase the levels of locally made products on all those retail shelves, you're also increasing the opportunity for consumers to buy those products. And so those products can be FMCG, DIY, can be food products, beverages, it can be clothing and textile. I mean, we have we've had a reasonable success in getting products that are of a high quality that we have vetted to live on retail shelves that they previously battled to get onto. I mean, if you think of products such as wine, we have a wine expo on an annual basis. So outside of this flagship event that we were speaking about earlier, we have what we refer to as the local wine expo. It takes place in July every year. Some of the successes for that event includes wine products, lesser known wine brands, owned predominantly by black female entrepreneurs, to get an opportunity to be sold at restaurants, at lodges, at hotels, to have shelf space, at liquor outlets, at places where they would have previously not been able to get shelf space. And that is the beauty of affiliating with Proudly South African. So that is just but one of the things that we do outside of the matchmaking that I spoke about earlier on. We've recently launched our own online store, which I'll talk to later. And so, but what we have done is, even outside of our own online store, we have been able to secure partnerships with third-party platforms, whether it's Macro Marketplace or Bob Shop or Take a Lot, and we've been able to list our member products on those platforms where previously a company would be asked to pay a fee to list, a fee to keep the product on there, and then still give commission. What we've done is we've taken away the first two.
Wow.
You can list there without having to pay that listing fee and the fee for your product to stay on there, because you're a member of Part South African, and that is part of the value proposition, and that is part of the negotiation that we have with some of our partners. So that is the beauty. As an SMME, the biggest benefit outside of utilizing the logo so that consumers can easily identify your product as one that has been vetted by Part South African, and which talks to being a high quality locally made product. It's about access to markets, and that's what we do.
Okay. Now, you guys are really pushing, you're working, and what are the strategies that are in place to encourage South Africans to support local brands? Because when I had a chat, we'll play some of those interviews. I got to understand that actually people are not really aware of what are some of the South African brands and products.
Look, and that is one of the things that we are acknowledging as Part of South African as an area where we still need to do a lot of work. But when I compare where we were a few years ago and where we are now, apologies, we have more South Africans who know the products. But if you consider the fact that there's 63 million people living in this country, it means there's still many more that we need to get to. So we have, a PR and media strategy that talks to utilizing platforms where the consumers are, especially insofar as where you can get some level of engagement happening. What do you call it? Talkability. Yes. So we utilize our social media platforms quite a lot. We showcase all our members. We showcase the products that are made in South Africa. We buy space at exhibition, third-party exhibition events where we are able to take our members to go and showcase their products. I mean, if you are a furniture making business, we'll take you to a furniture making platform like Decorex or Homemakers Expo. This past weekend, we took a few of our guys to the Rand Easter show. And that is where you are able to showcase those products to consumers, because you have a couple of hundreds of thousands of people who visit that exhibition. And so you are exposing them to those products. Ideally, you, as Part of South African, what you want to do is to be in people's faces all the time, because we're trying to change mindsets. People have an affinity towards products that come from outside of the country at times. And in order for them to shift to locally made products, you need to continuously tell them why it's important to buy local. It helps create jobs, etc. But also expose them to those products. So you need to be on TV, on radio, on billboards, and have boosted social media posts, etc. But all of that needs resources that we might not necessarily have. And so we have to be clever in terms of how we then approach it. And we found that through, going to markets, I mean, we do a lot of markets, and we know those are quite popular. There's a growing culture of people visiting consumer markets. So it's the expos, it's the markets, it's the online stores, and then it's what we curate ourselves by way of the Buy Local Summit and Expo, as well as the Local Wines Expo. We have a local fashion police event that looks at what South Africans are wearing and exposing South African designers and brands that are made in South Africa. And we found that because you have a competition element linked to it, where consumers are able to post themselves in garments and outfits that are made in South Africa with the label clearly showing the country of origin being South Africa. There's many more South Africans that are participating in that kind of an initiative than we had previously.
Nice.
So our PR efforts are clearly paying off. Our efforts to get South Africans to engage with us are clearly paying off, because we have many more of those entries coming in. And for me, I think we just have to build on it. Social media gives an opportunity to get instant feedback. And the instant feedback we're getting is that people, once they understand the importance, especially the economic importance and the economic benefit of buying a locally made product, they are more inclined to respond. The other dynamic you have, though, is that you have a growing population of people who are living below the poverty line, and so they can't afford to make that purchasing decision based on where the product comes from. But those who are able to, we can see more and more are now responding to that call for them to buy local.
No, I love it. I love it. So I think I need to just maybe play a jam just a little bit. Today we have an hour. So when we have an hour, we have the freedom to, do whatever it is that we can at that time. I'm just joking. But yeah, we'll take a break. We'll play a song for you. And then when we come back, we can just break down and you can tell me about your future plans. I heard that you threw something in there. You said you will tell me later. So we will be back. Urban Nights, don't you move.
Hey guys, welcome to it, man. My name is Sipho Zach Masiho, but you can call me Uncle Zach, your soon-to-be favorite uncle. Catch me on the edge every Saturdays between 3 and 6 p.m. for some entertainment, health, wellness, as well as style tips for men. We're also going to look at motoring, sports, and I've got some awesome music lined up for you between 3 and 6 p.m. on the edge.
On Urban Edge, not just radio.
Welcome back, Urbanites. You are still listening to Business Boost Extra with myself, Lerato Qwabe. And I am still with Mr. Mashimbye. Go to Harry. You thought I was going to trip.
Yeah.
Nah.
So far, so good.
No, Mr. Mashimbye, I'm proudly South African, okay?
Clearly.
Now, before we took a break, overnight, we were chatting to Mr. Mashimbye about the entrepreneurship and the local business growth, and which brings us to more questions, Mr. Mashimbye. How is Proudly South African leveraging on technology and innovation to help entrepreneurs stay competitive?
Look, consumers are techno-savvy, so you can't stay away from that space. We are finding that there is a growth that is clearly, one that can be ignored, of consumers buying on online platforms. Mm-hmm. That's why earlier when I spoke about the fact that we have third-party online stores that we've partnered with. We've just launched our own online store. We switched it on the 1st of April. So we're 3 weeks into that new journey for us and our members, where it has become and it's going to be positioned as the only place where you can go and buy online products that are exclusively made in South Africa. Other online stores have products that come from everywhere.
Yes.
But on this platform, you are going to find products that are made in South Africa only. And that is going to give an opportunity to our members to sell their products to the wide market that exists for online shoppers. And the other thing that we've done is for those who don't necessarily have consumer-facing products, like the ones that are going to live on our online store, who are targeting other businesses, we have created a portal known as the Market Access Platform. For those who do business with government, they know that if you want to do business with government, you must go on the CSD and register your company on the Central Supplier Database. And the purpose of that is that anyone in government who wants to buy must go on there and find suppliers. But in the private sector, you did not have that platform where anyone in the private sector wants to buy local or wants to buy, has a central place where they can go and look for suppliers. So that is what this Market Access Platform, or MAP as we know it, is going to do. They'll serve that purpose for the private sector. Any buyer in the private sector who is looking for a supplier of any type of product will be able to go on there, register themselves, and use it to find suppliers, to advertise tenders. And you know that when you advertise a tender on there, all suppliers who supply locally made products will see it. It won't necessarily be seen by people who will then respond and supply imported products.
Yes.
And so, that is another way in which we're utilizing technology. We have also, over the years, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit our shores, that as part of the response, the products that were being bought, like the masks and the sanitizers and the respirators and the ventilators and all of those things, were imported. But whereas there were South African companies who were pivoting and repurposing their businesses and making those products. In fact, some of them had already started doing those as part of their core businesses, even before the pandemic. And so what we did is we positioned those companies through a portal. So we created a portal where we listed locally made products. We would vet them like we vet now, because we don't want a company that lives on any of our platform and you find that the products are not made in South Africa, or that the quality is not right. We vet those without fail. Any company that you see utilizing the Proudly SA logo, whether they providing a product or rendering a service, has to go through that vetting process, and it gives the assurance to the consumer that the product is of a high quality nature and is made in South Africa. And so we did that during the COVID-19 pandemic period, where we gave an opportunity to local producers to list on that platform, and then we then actively promoted that portal to the private hospitals, to the mines, and anyone else who had stayed open for business based on the regulations, who needed sanitizers and masks and respiratory, masks and equipment. And that is how we utilize technology to make sure that consumers can easily find what they are looking for. And so we continue to find innovative ways to ensure that we can take locally made products easily to consumers utilizing technology.
Okay. No, you guys are working, Shama must say. I'm giving you guys
Thank you.
10 hands. And how can young entrepreneurs and startups benefit from engaging with Proudly SA?
The biggest benefit is that we have started tailor-making programs that are targeted at youth-owned businesses and female-owned businesses and black-owned businesses, yes. Because there is a need. When we, for example, engaged the Franchise Association a couple of years ago, we said to them, we see all of these franchises that are supported in the country that are buying raw materials and products that they require for them to produce whatever it is that they're selling. And by franchises, when you say franchise, people think food only, but there's also non-food ones. And we said to them, we want them to start buying from black-owned businesses and from youth-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. And so we started a program where we teach them how to pitch. We have a pitching program. We teach them how to pitch. We call it a market readiness and retail readiness program. We teach you how to package your offering to a buyer. So if you have 2 minutes with a buyer, what do you say in that 2 minutes? Because beyond that 2 minutes, they might not hear you anymore. And so we take them through that program where we teach them how to pitch, and then we take them to a session where they pitch to the franchisors and the franchisees. And we've had some successes. One of the successes is a black-owned business that through our initiative with the Franchise Association was able to list with, I think, Nando's at the time, and now I hear they've moved on to KFC and others, and they've even built a factory. This was a business that when they started, they were working in a garage somewhere, and now they have a factory in the east of Joburg. And so those are the successes.
So you do have success stories.
Lots of success stories of black-owned businesses, of women-owned businesses, of youth-owned businesses. And that deliberate strategy of finding opportunities for previously marginalized sectors of society who have gone into business, who are looking for access to market opportunities but are battling to engage those who make purchasing decisions. That strategy really works, and we are guided by that when we take decisions, especially where we create our own events, like I said, with the Wine Expo. Intentionally, about 80% of those companies that showcase the wines are black women-owned brands.
Woo.
And so that's Proudly South African for you. And we say women-owned brands because they focus on women.
Yes.
But when you delve deeper, you find that a lot of them are youth-owned businesses. And so there are ways in which we support that sector of society.
So can Proudly SA invite me to many of your events coming up?
Everyone is invited. With the Buy Local Summit and Expo, as an example, it was open to everyone. It was free to attend.
Oh, really?
We did not charge anyone.
Hey,
All those 2,000 plus people who attended the event over the 2-day period did not have to pay a cent. What we do is we go into the private sector and in a way to some of the state-owned companies to ask them to contribute by way of sponsorship so that we can ensure that SMMEs and entrepreneurs who attend the conference and the summit, because there's a big focus of the summit on financial and non-financial support programs available for entrepreneurs. And so you don't want entrepreneurs to miss out on that because they could not afford to pay the fee to attend the conference. There's a Business Solutions Hub where all of these entities that give that kind of support, whether it's CIPC that will help you register your business, whether it's companies that will help you protect and patent your idea, or companies that will give you support in terms of developing your business plans, whether it's CIFA or CIDA or CITFA as they know it now, or NEF and IDC for funding, or SARS to help you with your statutory compliance requirements, or the likes of the tax ombud, who you can go to if you have a problem with tech, with SARS, as a business person. So those are kind of solutions that are provided at the Buy Local Summit and Expo, outside of what is our core mandate, which is about buying local. And so that's how we support. And the uptake, I can tell you, of each of those programs is from youth-owned businesses. Because you can see that there is a hunger from this unemployed youth in this country to start finding solutions for themselves, and so that's why we call it the Business Solutions Hub. And we're helping them to access those solutions. We partnered with Gauteng Enterprise Propeller this year. They hosted a funding symposium. They had 20 different funding entities, both from the private sector and the public sector, speaking to them and giving them on-site assistance on funding solutions for their businesses. Where else do you have that? Where you have, whether it's a bank or a DFI, like IDC, giving you on-site assistance to help you access their funding, provided you tick all their boxes, of course.
That's very exciting. I love that. And I'll definitely be sharing more information on it, even on our social media pages, because we are about ensuring that entrepreneurs get the right information and it's well understood. Now, in your view, what are the biggest challenges facing South African entrepreneurs today?
Look, I've touched on some of them. Funding is the biggest one. But before you get to funding, I think you need to demonstrate to the funders that you have some sort of offtake. That people are going to buy from you, and that through the sales generated from that, you'll be able to pay back the funders.
Yes.
Obviously there are grants and incentives in this country that are accessed by those who package their offerings such that they can demonstrate that they are worthy of both the grant and the loan. Things like the Black Industrialist Program is a mixed bag. You are able to access both the grant side as well as the loan side of it. So funding, I think, is relatively taken care of if you think about it. I think the biggest challenge in this country is access to markets. And that's why Proudly South African, because of our mandate of being a buy local campaign, we've positioned ourselves as an access to market partner, but only for those who make their products locally. Or if they render services in South Africa, they utilize as best as possible equipment and consumables and everything else that they require to render that services that is sourced in South Africa. If you tick our boxes, at least 50% of the cost of doing business, of taking your product to market, must be incurred in South Africa. There are instances where the raw materials that you require are not available in the country, and so we allow you to bring in those raw materials that you're going to utilize to make your product. But the value addition or the conversion of that raw material into the finished product must happen in South Africa so that jobs are created.
Yes.
Because if you think of an item like furniture, it's not only the furniture making business that creates a job, but it's the one who supplies them with the textile item, the leather item that they utilize. Is the wood, is the steel components like the nuts and bolts and any other steel component that goes into the furniture item that should be sourced in South Africa, because those are available, and so jobs are also created across that whole value chain and in those companies. And so that is what Proudly South African is about. And so for us, we are a solution for those who make the actual products, but anyone who's part of that value chain. Everyone who's part of the value chain benefits from our efforts. And that is what we think is the biggest challenge facing entrepreneurs, and we are doing our best to tackle it and provide a solution as best as possible.
Well, I'm excited. We're going to have to take a short break. And when I come back, I will play one voice note, unfortunately, because time moves. I cannot believe this is the time. So don't you move every night. We will be right back. Everybody, you are still listening to Business Boost Extra with myself, Lerato Qwabe. Today we are discussing what it means to be South African. Let's hear what our friends have to say about that.
Hello listeners. My name is Mpumelelo Lawrence Paulus, and to answer the question of what does it mean to be South African, basically it means to be different, to stand out.
And how do you stand up?
How do I stand out? I think the diversity, the diversity that you would find in South Africa you can't find anywhere else. This is literally where the whole universe comes together, and so many cultural differences and so many cultures to learn from, and there's a lot, man.
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Okay.
To be South African is a mouthful, man.
Yeah. And do you support South African brands?
Fully so.
Which one are your favorites?
South African brands, as in clothing.
Everything South African.
That would be Drip. Yeah, that would be drip in terms of clothing. What else? I'm trying to think.
Products?
Products. Old brand.
All brands.
Old brand.
All right.
Old brand.
The
It's-
bull.
Yeah. What else? I'm trying to think. What other products are there? There's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
We'll let it slide. We'll let it
For now.
We'll let you slide for now. Are you proudly South African?
I am proud to be South African.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. You are still listening to Business Boost with myself, Lerato Qwabe, and we are still chatting to our friends, to our South African friends, about what it means to be South African. Sawubona bhuti Manjani.
Phila kunjani?
Ngiyaphila. Ngikhuluma nobani?
Uthetha noSonwabile Nhloko. I'm from Eastern Cape, a small village called Togo. I'm working here in Sandton now.
Nice. Now, tell me what it means to be South African.
By South African, I'd say, as a South African, you have to know where we come from and where we are currently. Because currently, I wouldn't say it's in a. There's nothing much positive I can say about South Africa currently. Besides that, yes.
It's okay.
Yeah. Currently, we are facing many challenges as South Africans, and also as a South African man, there's a lot that I think we're more of a broken society as South Africa. That's what I think. That's what I view South Africa at the moment.
And what is it that you think we can do to improve that?
Okay, for now, to improve that, I think we will need to work with the young ones. We'll begin with the young ones because us now, I mean, I am 40 now. So if I'm broken at that age, I need to work on myself. But the young ones, we still have a chance to work on them. Yes, especially, I think we have to work with the young boys, for instance, because young boys, we have to we build a betterment for the future. Yes.
Are you proudly South African?
I am proud of South African.
Thank you so much, Putwami. Do you also use South African brands at that?
Yes, I try. I try to use South African brands, I won't lie, but it's not easy to access them. That's what I've also noticed. South African brands, it's not easy to access them. If maybe I were to go to a retail and there's a session where you know that these are South African brands, maybe it would be better. These days you just buy what you can afford, not what you want as a South African.
Nkosi Putwami, thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
Okay.
So you're gonna tell me your name, surname, where you're from, and then I'm gonna ask you the first question, which will be what it means to be South African. We are still in the streets of Sandton, and we are chatting with some of our friends, our South African friends, and also our non-South African friends who are South African. Because if they are here, they are part of us. We are all united. Hello, my brother. Hello, my lady. Welcome to Business Boost Extra.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. What does it mean to be South African?
Oh, I'm Komuto. Baba.
I'm from
I'm from Soweto. Yes, to be South African, for me, it means a lot. In Africa, South Africa is one of the best countries in terms of GDP, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of services. even though we're not where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But in Africa, I think we are, if not the best. I think we're
Yes,
number
we
one.
really are. We really are.
I definitely think we're number one. So it means so much to me to be South African because it means I have access to all those services.
Yeah.
I have access to all those goods. And I'm part of a diverse, very diverse nation.
Lovely. My lady, you said you are South African, but not South African. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm Lerato.
Oh, Bito.
I come
Hi,
from
Bito.
Lesotho.
Nice.
I'm
She's my
here.
wife.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've
I'm
got.
here because I'm married to my husband.
Yes.
Yeah, it has been lovely to be in South Africa.
You are South African now because your husband is ours. So, Luena, worry.
All right.
Now, my next question: do you know of an organization called Proudly South African Brands?
Yes, I do. I've seen their ads on the TV. I've seen their ads on Facebook and on the internet. So I've got a slight idea of what they're all about.
Do you support their brands?
I don't know if I do support their brands
Okay.
because I must know what brands do they serve.
So they need to show more visibility.
Definitely. I know there are South African brands, but I don't know which ones are on there.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you proudly South African?
Very proud. She knows it. I'm very proud.
And my last question then would be: do you support South African brands?
That's a good question. Do I support South African brands? Yeah, maybe I should start paying attention. I should start paying more attention to South African brands because obviously if you support South African brands, the economy grows and there's employment. Yeah. So I think I should just pay more attention. Yeah. Maybe I do. You're
just not
don't
aware.
pay attention.
Nah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying maybe there's more awareness and we know which products are South African. To be easier to support South African brands.
And what's your take on the youth unemployment?
That's one of the things that I was saying, that we're not where we're supposed to be, but I think we'll get there as a nation. That one affects, I think it affects almost everyone. Because when people are unemployed, the crime rate goes up. Obviously, if you are employed, unemployed people are going to come and hold things, steal from you, hijack you, whatever. Yeah, the crime rate just goes up. It's very, very bad. I think something needs to be done about employment. So if, as I was saying, if you buy more local brands, you will increase the employment, which will help reduce the high unemployment rate.
Do you have any question for the CEO of Proudly South African?
Yes. What are they doing about the poultry thing? You know, there's that is it Brazil and America. They're dumping their. I'm not going to know. They're dumping their chickens here in South Africa, actually in Africa.
Yes.
So what is South African? Proudly South African doing to mitigate that so that it does not affect our local production? You know, we've got rainbow chicken, we've got other local local brands.
At least you know. Yeah.
So now, if chicken is dumped from Brazil and America, it's affecting the local production. So it means more and more people are going to get unemployed. So I want to know what is Proudly South African doing to mitigate that.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, do you have a question for the CEO? Oh, you don't have? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Vito. Thank you so much, Abuti.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Okay.
Back with me, we are still in the streets of Sandton and having a chat with our friends. Hi, Sawubona Putwa Manjani. Ngiyaphila. Ngikhuluma nobani? Andrew. Hello, Mr. Mukoka. Ramukoka. Ntate Ramukoka, are you proudly South African?
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing I can say. Like, I'm proud of South African.
Do you support South African brands?
Yeah, I do.
Which ones?
Like any brand.
Okay, give me one. Give me one.
That's a tough question.
Tata Ramukoka. What brand?
Serious, no, Ross.
Lady All Brandy. Raleboga Abuti, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. Sharp. Welcome back, Urban Nights. We are still on Urban Urge, right? And this is Business Boost Extra with myself, Lerato. It's so unfortunate that we can't play all of them, but this is what Khumotso had to say, Mr. Mashimbye.
Yes, he's very good actually. His understanding of the importance of buying local and what it means to the economy and what it would, adversely result in if we don't buy locally made products and people continue losing their jobs and the social ills and crime that goes with it. It's quite good, and it was impressive to hear that people have an understanding of why a buy local campaign like ours is important and why supporting local brands is important. The question around the poultry industry is an important one. We've had chicken dumped mostly from Brazil as well as the EU. There are parts of the EU that are the ones dumping their chicken in the country. And the backstory is that there are portions that we like that they don't like. So what we like, what they call the brown portions, like the drumstick and the wing and the thigh that we fight for in our homes, they don't. They just want the white portions. Oh. And so that is a portion that they would not have consumed. So they send it to South Africa. That's why it's seen as dumping. Because they've already made their money. The producers make their money by selling to their own markets. And then those portions that would not sell in those economies are dumped, for lack of a better word, but by being sent here. Because they've made their money, they're able to send them here at lesser prices. Okay. Same as the example I gave earlier on about ceramics and the fact that there's no way you can sell a chicken at the specific price at which they're selling the chickens to us. And so what we are doing as Proudly South African is we have partnered with a lot of the poultry producers. And we run campaigns. And in fact, if you go to any retailer, you will find a lot of the chicken as the Proudly South African logo. He spoke about Rainbow, but you also have Supreme, which is Country Bird Holdings. You have Sovereign Foods, and you have Grain Fields, and all of those are members of Proudly South African, and they're utilizing the Proudly SA logo as an identifier. To also respond to his other question around not knowing which brands are locally made, look for the country of origin label on every product. By law, every product has to have a country of origin label that says where the product is made. The easiest way to find products that are affiliated with us is to look for the logo, the Proudly SA logo. The minute you see the logo, you know that that product is made in South Africa, and that way you are supporting a locally made product. And so to respond to him, we have campaigns over the festive season. We run campaigns, the different times of the year we run campaigns, and we are growing the share of the market for locally made poultry products on the shelves by ensuring that we engage retailers, etc., to get them to start considering giving more shelf space to locally made products, and then discouraging them from buying more than what they are now by way of imported products. And so that campaign around the poultry products is quite critical, because the poultry producers, as well as the entire value chain, remember, if the poultry producers close down, the ones in South Africa is the grain suppliers, it's those who supply the feeds, and so jobs are lost across the whole value chain. And that's why this is an industry that even as a master plan, where government, the unions and the private sector and us are working together to ensure that we grow the market share of locally made poultry to rival this imported chicken from Brazil and the EU.
Hey, stop it with your Brazilian what chicken, man. Hey, little bulaya man lena. Oh, Mr. M. Yeah, I'm there now.
Yes, I clearly.
I am there now, Mr. M, because also our time is up. So it's very unfortunate that we started a bit late, but thank you so much for your time, sir. I got to learn a lot, things that I also didn't know about Proudly SA. So I am a South African, proudly South African. I support local brands. Don't worry, Gida. So I'm excited that you got to share with us what is it that you guys are up to and busy with. And like the gentleman said on the voice note, he felt there wasn't enough awareness in it. That's how I also felt until this interview. And now I am 100% proudly, yeah, South African.
You're empowered now.
Very much
Yeah,
empowered.
so let's empower others more. People must just follow us on all our social media platforms. We are on Twitter, or X as is known. We're on Facebook.
Yes.
We're on LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel. We're on TikTok now with exciting content. And we hope, we're on Instagram as well. And we hope that, as people continue to follow us, they will then get exposed to more locally made products. But even if you don't follow us, the least you can do is check the label of origin. If it says made in China, you've created a job in China.
Don't do that.
So look for the country of origin label and buy local.
We love that. I also follow you guys on Instagram, so please tell your people to follow back. Thank you, Urbanites, for tuning in. My name is Lerato Qwabe, and this is Business Boost Extra. It's time to love and leave you, and I will be back with you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Mr. M. It's been a fantastic evening with the CEO of Proudly SA.
Looking for the perfect start.